video on something that I'm going to have a bit of a play around with, and if I'm going to play around with something, I might as well make a video out of it. So then I've got a record of it and all that kind of stuff, and something interesting might come of it, or it might lead to something else interesting. So what I want to do is what did I see? I saw something that was deep fried crispy balls of something in a tomato sauce. And I was kind of thinking, oh, that's kind of quite interesting. But the ingredients were kind of quite expensive, and I kind of thought, I don't really want to do I don't really want to do expensive, because I think cheaper is much more interesting. You know, there's taking cheaper ingredients and doing something interesting with them is a lot more interesting. So, what I want to do is I want to make a potato dumpling, like a cheesy potato dumpling, and then fry it so it's crisp, and then I want to serve it in a tomato sauce, but maybe more like a tomato soup. Maybe. So my idea is like a crispy hash brown, but like a cheesy one, and then or like a crispy gnocchi, maybe. You know, so instead of poaching gnocchis and then frying them afterwards, maybe just frying them. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some potatoes. I'm going to cook them whole with the skins on, because I want the inside of the potatoes to be kind of, I don't want them to soak up any excess moisture. So we're going to cook them with the skins on, and then once they're cooked, we'll break them open and let them steam, and we'll get as much moisture as possible. And then we'll combine the insides with, I've got some leftover feta from work, so we'll use that, because well, it's not feta, it's Greek salad cheese, that's what they call it. It's this stuff. So it's that. So it's Greek style salad cheese. For all intents and purposes, it's feta, but it's not feta because it's not made in the way. It's made exactly in the way that feta is, but it won't have the right percentage of sheep's or goat's milk in it. It'll probably just be made out of cow's milk. Whereas feta has to have a certain percentage of goat's or sheep's milk. So I've got that, and it's left over, and it's cheap, but I suppose like an Italian hard cheese would be better. But I'm all about the cheapness. So we'll combine those with a bit of cheese and a bit of egg, and maybe a bit of flour as well, depending on how it kind of comes together. Might do half and no, I might do half and half. So I might do one with cheese and one without cheese, and then it kind of makes it even cheaper. And then I'll just make a quick tomato soup with some onion and some tomatoes. Yeah, so this onion's getting a little bit ropey. So I might just, I've got another one as well. So I might end up making a bigger batch of tomato soup, and then I've got some soup for next week, so I don't have to make any soup for lunch. I can just have some. So I might make more soup than I actually need, but that's basically what I'm going to do. So we'll cook those whole. When they're tender, break them open, let them steam. Might show that bit, but it's Friday night, and I don't know if I can be bothered showing that bit, and you don't kind of really need to see it. And then it'll just be the better off done and cooled down, and then we can combine all the stuff a little bit easier tomorrow. But that's my thoughts. So we'll see kind of how it goes. I don't think I'm going to put any onion in like the potato dumplings. I don't think so. No, because that just kind of makes things a little bit more expensive. And I think, you know, let's do things as cheap as possible. I think that's much more important. And you can show what you can do with cheap food, doesn't it? And that's much more interesting. Potatoes are cooked, and while they're still warm, just break them open like you would do with gnocchi, and then what will happen is we'll drive out as much moisture from these as possible. So we want them dry, but if we're driving out moisture, that means we can replace that moisture with a different type of moisture. So we can replace that moisture with fat for flavour, so there'll be fat that comes out of the cheese. So if these potatoes were wet, we wouldn't be able to put as much cheese in them, which is kind of what we want. And if we drive out the moisture, we'll get away with putting less flour, if we're going to put any flour in. And also it means we can put more egg in, make them a little bit more rich. So we just want to, that's the reason why we want the potatoes as dry as possible. And they'll steam naturally. We could put them in the oven to dry out, but a little bit further, but it can do the work for us. So just break them open. The more surface area, I mean, they'll cool down quicker, but that also means they'll dry out quicker as well, so we'll get out more moisture. So it's that bit of a catch-22. They'll cool down quicker, but we'll get more moisture out of them. And because they'll cool down quicker, it means we can do something with them a little bit quicker as well. So, and we'll do, yeah, the only problem is just kind of getting them. I suppose we should have rubbed the skins off before we started. We'll pick them out afterwards. So, just a bit of an afterthought, but cooking potatoes like this, after just tasting them, they taste like baked potatoes. And I'm wondering if baked potatoes, it's not the baking that gives them the flavour, it's the cooking them whole that gives them the flavour. So you're not losing flavour into the cooking water. So you kind of think mashed potatoes. If you're cooking, you peel potatoes, put them in water, drain them out of the water, and then mash them, we're losing flavour. So, also by doing this, we're keeping the flavour of the potatoes as well. You know, much more flavour to that than there would be of a potato that had been boiled in water, because we lose flavour to the water. Even though you kind of think of potatoes not having much flavour, they do have flavour, but not in comparison to something like a carrot. So the bigger your carrots, the bigger you leave a carrot whole and cook it, and it's much more flavour in it than if you slice it small, because it's leaching that flavour into the water. Same with the potatoes. So baked potatoes don't taste that way because they're baked. They taste that way because they're cooked whole. I don't know why I've never thought of that before. And I don't know why no one's ever said that before. But that's common sense, isn't it? But there we go. That's just a bit of an add-on. I've thought about this, and I think I know what I'm going to do. Oh, but I haven't got the cheese ready. But anyway, we'll start on this. So we can always add a little bit more, can't we? Yeah. So I'll go like a gnocchi kind of ratio of flour and egg. So let's mash these potatoes. Potato mash feels like it's gonna fall to bits. So 500 grams worth, well, about 550 grams worth of potatoes. It'll probably need a bit of seasoning as well. So, oh, I've got a bit of skin there. Pick all that out. Although a little bit's not going to do any harm, is it? So that, so half an egg to start off with, eh? Although we're going to add flour as well. I know some people don't use any egg in a gnocchi, but I want it to hold together when we fry it, and I want it to hold together when we put it in the soup. So I think let's put a whole egg in. I suppose you could do this with leftover mashed potato, as long as there wasn't too much butter in it. So right, and then flour out as well. I've got another bit of skin there, and then a dessert spoon of plain flour, I think. So rounded dessert spoon, I think. And then we'll take half this. We better season it. Right. We certainly need some salt. And put some pepper in while we're at it. Black pepper, I mean, we're going to see the flecks of black pepper, but white pepper would be better, but black pepper's what I've got. Oh no, I think I've got some white pepper, but too late now. So, the ingredients were cold, but we're warming it up as we're faffing around with it. So it'll need to go, move that off the floor before I stand in it. But it'll warm up as we're working it, although it's still pretty cold. No, not good at all. So, probably overworked it, but I'm not bothered. Now, pause, I need to get some things out. Right, so I split that into two halves. So, and then we've got some feta, which we're going to mash, and then we'll combine with. So there's 100 grams worth of feta. Now I'm using feta because that's what I've got. So that I suppose any cheese, but it's just I'm going to use feta. We'll decide if a more melty cheese would be better later on, which it probably would do, but and then see how it mashes. 100 grams maybe. Look about right. So squish it down. And I think they'll easily combine with the they combine with the potato. So then potato back in here. Someone honking the horn outside my house. Obviously a taxi. I don't know what's wrong with people. Surely one honk's enough. So does 100 grams look about right? So I suppose what we can do is we can always add some hard cheese to that one, can't we? If these don't work. But let's see how they taste first. But there you go, like feta's, this cheap feta's cheap. So that like that. Oh, it looks like those spats, something over the noodles, like dumplings. So that's interesting, isn't it? Can we get away with a bit more cheese? I think we can. What have we got? Have I got another 100 grams? Yeah, just over another 100 grams. So let's crumble that in and mix that in. If it don't work, it don't work. I'm quite happy for it to not work because I'll eat it anyway because it's Saturday night and I'm not going out. So something nice for dinner. Swimming and then something nice for dinner. Which I once told my sister how I was planning to spend my Saturday night, that I'd worked on the Friday and I was going to stay in on Saturday and I was going to watch a film, I was going to swim, I was going to cook myself a nice meal, I was going to watch a film, I was going to have a few cocktails, and she said, oh, that sounds like a boring Saturday night. And I didn't think so, I thought it sounded wonderful. And then she got married. And in all honesty, that's exactly how she'd like to spend her Saturday night. So, we're allowed to change our opinions, aren't we? So, shame we can't just drop those in the cooking liquid. Maybe we could. That's something to think about, isn't it? So, yes, certainly tastes the cheese there. So, what I think is, let's not put that into wash if we've got that bit there. So my idea is that we'll put these in the fridge and we'll set them up. And then I kind of want dumplings, but I want them a bit rough. Oh, we might need to just pure that a bit more. But I want them a little bit rough, so they've got like rough, sharp edges, and then those edges will go crispy, and then that'll be kind of quite nice. And then I was thinking as well that is not that dissimilar from like having tomato soup with chips in it, you know, like potatoes and then kind of tomato soup. It's not that dissimilar, and then cheese on top if you're lucky. So I was kind of thinking like that kind of shape, and we'll fry them, get them crisp, and then we'll drop them in the soup. But I think that's about the right amount of cheese. Yeah, they're nice and cheesy. You can't necessarily tell that it's feta, but we've got that kind of that cheesiness to it. I'm probably overworking it, but we're not making gnocchi, are we? we're making potato dumplings. So to break that cheese up a little bit, I think. This is going to be a longer video than I actually wanted, but it's me, as always, thinking my way through things as we do it, which I think I'm much more interested in, rather than a ta-da, here's one I made earlier. So, that's that. That's that. I think that'll be okay. We'll see how that one fries, we'll see how this one fries. I'll put them in the fridge, we're going to form them first. Yeah, I think we'll form them first and then put them in the fridge. So, leave that one as is, as long as we keep them separate. So, right, I'll put that out of the way. And then, well, we're going to roll them like gnocchis. I don't know. No, I think I want them rough. I want them rough. So like that. And like that. And like that. I suppose we could panade them, which is to flour, egg and breadcrumb them, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to give myself too much work. So hopefully there'll be enough egg and flour in there to keep them together when we start frying them. We might just have to fry them gently, but like rough like that. I can see bits of cheese on the outside, so they'll fry kind of quite nicely and go crisp, I think. So, yeah, that kind of size, I think. And then let's do some gnocchi shapes anyway. So that's that. And then see how we go. So let's get that out of the way. That can just be there's too much for me to eat, but we'll just have a go at that a bit later on. So about that much. That out of the way. That out of the way for a minute. A little bit of flour. That's wanting it to break up. That's not good, is it? Maybe we can't do gnocchi shapes. I don't know, maybe. No, it's not wanting to do that. It's not got enough. No, it's the cheese that's not letting it. That's probably why you don't make cheesy gnocchis. Maybe we might get away with this. Now we needed it slightly. So let's just do that. Get that out of the way, back on there. Make some more washing up for myself, as always. I need a fork, don't you see? Not like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Yeah, apologies for not pronouncing gnocchi correctly either. And then just a little bit of flour on the fork, and then just like that, just so they look like gnocchis. Just like that. And then we can put those on the plate and have them set up in the fridge as well. And then we'll see what they're like. So they'll cool down and they'll set up a little bit. So I'll just fry them just a little bit easier. And then we'll see how those turn out. Hopefully they're also not too hot. So I've taken the non-cheese potato dumplings and rolled them into balls, so I know which one is which. And we're gonna. The oil was a little bit too hot, so I've had to put some more oil in it. So there's more oil in than I actually would have liked. But putting these in will hopefully cool the oil down enough that things are not gonna burn. We'll see how these cheesy ones do. Deep frying cheese is probably not a good idea. Put a mixture of these in, and then we can know. Probably make a right old mess of the oil, but we'll see. We will see. And then I've just made a quick tomato sauce stroke soup. We'll use that plate again. We'll put some paper on that to dry those off on. So I've just made a tomato soup. So it was 4 tins of cheap tomatoes, 600 grams of onions. Although no, because that makes far too much. So, but that was the ratio. So 2 tins of tomatoes, 300 grams, and 3 stock cubes, and 300 milliliters of water as well. So I've made extra because I'm going to have it during the week. So we could probably get away with turning these up now. No, that's okay. They're floating. Cheesy ones are wanting to explode. So probably not a great idea to put cheese in them, but we'll see. We'll see when they turn out. So they're flowing like gnocchi. So they're held together, round ones, and they're there. Okay, that's all right, isn't it? So they'll brown. We'll brown those, and then we'll what we call it. We'll have a look at them when they're cooked. But you get the idea of what I'm doing. Right. So the cheesy ones are exploding. So that's obviously far too much cheese. Although that's going to be interesting to eat, isn't it? So yeah, it's just wanting. There's too much cheese. There's too much cheese. Oh, there's not enough flour in them. You might add just a little bit more flour, but the rough ones have just exploded. Not to worry. Not to worry. But those are fine. So they're alright. So we'll cook more of those. Well, let's just. Well, no, because let's just taste this. Let's just. No, no, it's fine. I'm trying to think my way through something. So, you might be able to save a few of these, but the oil certainly wants straining. Yeah, they've just exploded. Not to worry, far too much cheese. Would have been a nice idea. You need to strain that oil and start again. Turn it off, otherwise it's just going to burst into flames. So let's have a ladle full of. We'll do a taste test. So it goes in there like that. Let's see what it tastes like. How's that taste? I mean, the exploded ones are nice, but they've just gone to that, which is delicious, but not particularly great looking. So, and then potato dumplings, fried potato dumplings. Shame they're not cheesy, but not to worry. Can be really hot, aren't they? I'm going to burn my mouth. They're nice. But don't like potato croquettes. So yeah, so I like potato croquettes that aren't got the crispy coating on. Like, but that's what they taste like. And tomato soup, so it's a bit of a cheap tea. Like a, you know, I mean, you could just buy a tin of soup and buy some potato croquettes and you'd have this exact same thing. How do the cheesy ones taste? If we can get them to hold together, I think more flour. Really hot. Cheesy ones are nice. It's a shame they exploded. But we'll strain that oil and then we'll have another go and we'll mix it with more flour, I think. We have strained the oil, let's have another go, and we put more flour, quite a lot of flour, into dumplings. So let's make them a little bit rough, which is kind of what I wanted. I want them crispy on the outside. But maybe that was a contributing factor why they wanted to explode. But the flour, extra flour might have fixed it. But they come a little bit more tough because of the flour, so it's a bit of a trade-off. But lots of things in life are a bit of a trade-off, aren't they? You know. So, okay. Look like they're holding together better anyway. Certainly a good amount of cheese. I want them to be cheesy. That's the thing. You know, if we're going to put cheese in, let's make them properly cheesy. But they're okay so far. And I think as long as they create a bit of a seal on the outside, as long as the outside seals, it will stop them from exploding if the outsides are kind of cooked. So we'll see how we go. But it might just be because we just needed more flour, which is kind of with gnocchi. You want them to be almost the least amount of flour as possible. As a rule, from what I remember, although I've never cooked them professionally. Oop, nearly. Don't fry in a frying pan. It's really dangerous, and it's even really dangerous as even though I'm a professional. It looks alright. It looks like holding together. Probably slightly overcrowded the pan, but I'm also a professional in overcrowding the pans. Quick wash of the hands. Yeah, so that was about, how much of the mixture? A quarter of the mixture, and at least another 2 dessert spoons full of flour. Oh yeah, they've held together. Yeah, so it's just, they just needed more flour, and they've gone crispy. They've gone rough and crispy like I wanted them to as well. So that's fine. So we just need to put in more flour. Not a third. About a quarter, and certainly put in two heaped dessert spoons worth of flour to get them to do that. That's alright, isn't it? So that's worked. That's a success. So they'll still be cheesy, but they'll just be a little bit more floury. So there we go. So they will taste nice. So we'll pause, and when they're ready, we'll pull them out, and we'll want the cart, and we'll have a taste. We'll let them cool down when they're ready first, and drain them off, and put them in some of the soup, and see how it turns out. I think it's going to be delicious. The Americans have got those tater tots, haven't they? I don't know what a tater tot is. Is it a bit like a hash brown? I should have looked it up, shouldn't I? But I think they're coated, aren't they? That's like the breadcrumbs. Maybe they are just like a smaller individual version of a croquette potato. Maybe. That sounds about right, doesn't it? Like just mashed potato which has been coated in flour, egg and breadcrumb. But I should have stopped the video, but I'm still talking, aren't I? I'll pause the video and we're back when they're cooked and cooler, that I'm not going to burn my mouth. Right, let's give them a taste. They've held together, so that's okay. And they're nice and crispy on the outside. Nice and soft and fluffy on the inside. They're really good. They're really good. I thought the flour would have ruined them, but they're really good. Lighter than I thought they would be as well. They're delicious. So, I use feta, but your cheese of choice, as long as it's not a soft cheese. Better off with a harder cheese, but you can do the cheddar route, or you can do like the hard Italian cheese kind of route, or the like manchego. That'd be nice, or a sardo pecorino, or a normal pecorino. You know, they would be nice, and put plenty in. What I will do is I've got half the mixture left, so I will add some more flour to that, and then kind of work out how much extra flour I put into it. So I'll be able to weigh that, won't I? And then calculate how much flour I'm putting in. So I'll do the proper recipe at the bottom, and then these in the soup. And let's try them with the soup. And it's a bit more interesting, isn't it? So that, and then did have a spoon. Let's go for the crispy one. That's lovely. I mean, it's not sophisticated, right? So it's not, by any stretch of the imagination, sophisticated. I mean, it's bordering on kids' food. You know, like fatty kids' food. You know, like fish fingers and chips, and maybe beans, and you know, if you catch them on a good day, peas. You know, it's like potato waffles. It's in tomato soup. It's that type of thing, but it's delicious. So I mean, it's I suppose with some, be nice for some grated cheese on top, and then put under the grill. So like cheese on top, and then put under the grill in the bowl, and then it'd be like cheesy chips in tomato soup. But that's lovely, is that? But like kids' food. It's nothing very sophisticated, but it's very nice. So I think that's a success.